Now, you'll be very familiar with some of the Gartner and Forrester data with regard to the cost of failure of IT projects. And this chart basically calls it out here. If you take a company with $100 million spend, 25% of that is going to be project, and of that 25 million, outright failure reduction, and 15% of that is the kind of starting cost, and then you've got a 20% reduction outright failures. Straight away creates a tangible benefits case of $750,000. Most projects don't actually become outright failures. They're marginal success. And so in that case, the studies show 51% of the projects are marginal success, and we can, and this is very conservatively, get a 10% improvement in those projects just by integrating the resources, the finances, the portfolio, and the integration to the back end, the human resources in the BW environment. So 10% saving there is 1.275. So these are conservative for our company that's got a $25 million IT project spend, but you can see how quickly that project is going to pay for itself, considering we're talking about 5-figure and very low 6-figure implementation costs. They're paying for themselves more weeks than months. Okay, John. Now, with that said, we're going to jump to questions. Please stay tuned for the upcoming webinars that we have July, October, and December. And please also go to our website or go to YouTube, and you can find our first webinar of the year in January on closed-loop resource management. Now, we're getting close to the end. We do have a number of questions. If there's any late questions you want to be considered, please type them into the chat box and fire them across, and we will get started with some questions. Okay. John, I think I have to cover this first one that we got. We mentioned PLM and how it covers the product lifecycle management, ECM, DMS, and so on and so forth, but I've studied even project management can be seen in PLM. In other words, there's a very close correlation between product lifecycle management and portfolio and project management. And that's absolutely the case. Our focus today was on IT portfolio management, but in product development, we see very tight integration between product lifecycle management and project management, such that we can get products to market quicker and we can eliminate a lot of the cross-functional lag that takes place today. And so it's going to be the subject of one of our upcoming webinars is the integration of PLM and PPM. And if you send us an email, there are contact details at the back of the presentation. We can send some material we've already presented at conferences this year already on PLM to PPM integration. So send us your email and we will get that information to you. John, another question that came in. What is the best way of planning capacity in PPM? Is it through C Projects or SAP PS, and why?
Well, C Projects is typically what I'm used to, so I would lean toward that answer, just from being able to have the flexibility to assign at the project level, or just at a single task level, or even going ahead, as I showed during this, assign the role and the actual resource name. So C Projects is very integrated into PPM. It's actually part of it now. Project systems it can integrate in, but that's definitely in the ECC area.
I'll add to that, John, that PPM is much more of a top-down view of resource management, especially when you're integrating to PS and not C Projects, more for capital project scenarios. But they do work hand in hand. So when you implement PPM and PS together, PS becomes the project execution tool, and the planning is really done in PPM. Now, obviously, the operational planning of the project is done using work sensors, but that information flows back into PPM, and then you get very good supply-demand visibility. So the answer, I guess, to that question is depends what your business scenario is. If it's IT, it's C project. If it's capital, it typically is PS. In PPM, John, in portfolio initiatives, I can see several projects with budget status. Where do you allocate this budget? Is it in PPM or is it in PS? If it is in PS, how is it reflected back in PPM? And if it's in PPM, how does that reflect in PS?
So for the portfolio initiatives, you actually can budget that in that initiative as well. And that would be a top-down flow, and you can push that to the items of the projects underneath. So there's many ways to do that. From a PS point of view, from the budget coming back in, I think I may ask for you on that one, Tom, since you're a little more of a PS expert than myself.
Yeah, out of the box, those budget indicators you saw are just configured solely within PPM. However, using functionality within PPM 5.0 exclusively to PPM 5.0, that's the beefed up integration with PS, it's very easy to take those status indicators from PS and integrate them back into PPM using something called decision flow management. So there's a standard customer enhancement that you just create that indicator field, PS budget status, and then use decision flow management to feed that data from PS back to PPM. And decision flow management works both ways, top down and bottom up. So it can be done in many different ways, depends on really what you require. It's not a complicated integration. So let me look at some more of the questions.
And
John,
let me, while you're looking at those questions, Tom, one thing I wanted to point out with the portfolio structure. I've had clients, and I've done this myself as well in my professional career over the last 10 or 15 years, is you can track applications under support or enhancement. You can do that by an application. So you can even go more granular in getting your total visibility if it matches your maturity level, if you're ready for that. Otherwise, just one capture, one project item to capture your support and break fix hours may be sufficient, or again, you can go down to more detail.
Right, and I guess a lot of that depends how you want to integrate with your ticketing system as well. John, question here, when you mention maturity level, are you referring to the CMMI levels?
Boy, that one's putting me on the spot.
Sorry.
I don't recall right now. That was when we pulled those out. That is all from Gartner. I am a member of Gartner, but I can't remember exactly off the top of my head.
Yeah. They align fairly closely with the Project Management Institute maturity model as well.
Yeah, PMI.
Been around for so long, we've forgotten who coined the phrase, but we'll check up and get back to you on that one.
Well, as long as we have the name, we can definitely.
Yeah. We have the names, and we will be sharing that maturity level questionnaire with you after this. Question for you, John. How does SAP Portfolio and Project Management compare with HP or Microsoft Project Server 2010?
Oh, that's a great question. I've used both of those products. As I alluded to during the demo, if you have SAP or are going to SAP PPM is a solution for you just from an integration point of view, and getting that financial integration, getting that time tracking in CATs, and having all that flow back and forth, really making it part of your ERP system. That is just something that is above and really Project Server that includes Portfolio now in 2010 really just can't capture. Also, from a portfolio management point of view, the in 5.0 of SAP, it's a little bit better on that front as well. It has a few less undocumented features. bugs.
Okay, John. Question here, are we planning to talk about integration between PPM and PS? Not today, but we are very well versed in it, so if we have your contact details, we will get back to you on that particular point. Our question, along with capacity planning, could you also show financial planning? I think you showed that, John.
Yes.
Which industries or sectors would SAP PPM be most suitable for? John?
It can really cover the gambit at this point. With Ian's slide summed it up well. The industries can be for any capital, IS, oil. It can also be for a consulting firm or services firm as well, with the time tracking and assignment, and really tracking that even that profitability by customer project, and of course internal expense in those cost center type areas. That one's been there for quite a while. Okay,
we're running out of time. A couple more questions. How was the availability on the bucket and item derived in the examples shown? At the bucket level, that's new functionality called available supply, available capacity in PPM 5.0, and you set that at the bucket level. So if you're running 5.0, it's all there, and there is an OSS note on it. Good one for you, John. Can you discuss a few examples of how you can interface with Microsoft Project, Project Server, and SharePoint?
Absolutely. So from a portfolio point of view, and if you have SAP, PPM is definitely the way to go. But from a tactical point of view, and you're storing, let's say, design documentation for remote teams, you can go ahead and actually link your PPM to that SharePoint site or to a project server workspace, just to have the detailed issues and risks for that project and design documentation, etc., whatever the case may be, at that detailed tactical level, to have that integrated in with PPM and go back and forth. You can actually pull data back and forth. So they actually do cohabitate well together.
Yeah, just to add to that answer, John, for more complex scenarios where people are looking to integrate scheduling information back into ECC and then have that all correlate up through PPM, there's an application called SAP Enterprise Project Connection, and that's used for more complex process-driven integrations, and it can integrate to Microsoft Project Server and to Primavera P6 Project Management. So if you're looking for those kind of scenarios, that application is actually in ramp-up in its 2.0 release right now. The 1.0 release supports just Primavera.
And on top of that, if you're more focused on Microsoft Project Client, well, SAP PPM does have its own Gantt chart tool with task, milestones, relationships, and it has a very strong integration, a bi-directional integration with Microsoft Project Client. And that was one other question that came up. So I think we're out of time. Let's look to move to close. So please provide us with the survey results. We will get the presentation to you. Apologize if there's any sound communication problems at the start of the webinar. We got some feedback to say there was, so hopefully it cleared up. And we will also receive the maturity level questionnaire, as John alluded to. This is our contact information. You will get this presentation sent to you shortly as well. Please, if we didn't answer your question today, we will get back to you. And if you have any follow-on questions, well, you know how to get hold of us. So thank you very much for your time. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you again in July.
Thank you.